This is Into the Hen House, a podcast for moms with littles. In this space, we share the stories, experiences, and wild wisdom of mothers. We remember and celebrate the sacred. We are your hosts, Andrea and
Caitlin.
Get ready for some inspiration because it's time to jump into the hen house. Hello, welcome back, everyone. We're so glad that you are here. We have an extraordinary guest on the show today. This is Dr. Brigitte Rossi, and she is a fellow Canadian. Have to always share that. And she is a mom. She's a wonderful mom, has been such a mentor for both Caitlin and myself. And she is a chiropractor. She homeschooled her kids for many years, I think up until high school for some of them.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. And just is a huge wealth of knowledge on everything, healthy living and parenting and everything. And today we are talking about her amazing work that she's doing right now. And it is, subconscious somatic work. And if you don't know what that is okay, because we are going to dive into that.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Did I miss anything?
Well, I'm sure we'll cover it as we go if we did.
Okay.
It's all good.
But yeah, so some people may have heard of the book Emotion Code, which is part of the work that you are currently doing. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about the work for people who aren't at all familiar or maybe have read the book Emotion Code? But what you do is much bigger than that and includes that.
Yes. Yeah, Emotion Code is the foundation of that was developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, who also actually started out as a chiropractor himself. And he basically, the premise of Emotion Code is to identify and release any trapped emotions or energies that are stored within the body. And so we use muscle testing to access our subconscious mind to really identify what emotions that we're still holding on to from our past, identify those, and then release them. And so that is kind of the start of it. Emotion Code is one aspect of everything that has then been developed through Body Code and Belief Code. So, but Emotion Code is the foundation of the starting point to show that how emotions can affect our physical well-being. And it's really wonderful because it's the first access point, very simple, that people can do to help support themselves. And then from there, we can build on and see what other types of energies are we still holding on to in the past, and then clearing those as well.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit, how did you come to this work? Because you have, you've had, if we're looking at kind of the last decade or a little bit more than that, you've had quite a few different areas of expertise that you've really dived deep in on. And this one is, though it's very much all in your wheelhouse, it's a little bit on the more recent side, I think.
Yeah. So, well, growing up, I grew up with my father, who was a chiropractor, and many uncles and great aunt even, and cousins who were chiropractors. So I've always been in that health field. But my mom specifically did a technique called neuro-emotional technique, also known as NET. Yeah. So I was exposed to what the Emotion Code it actually is just identifying those emotions through another technique called NET, and my mom did. And so I would do that starting, I think she became certified when I was about a teenager. So I was able to notice those patterns within myself. And it was a tool throughout all of school, all of my motherhood, that I would go to my mom and be like, Mom, help me out here, right? But then throughout my own chiropractic studies, and then becoming a chiropractor, and my own healing, being a mom, all of those things, what had me kind of studying, I was studying nutrition, I started studying essential oils, I started studying, other things to support the body. Because as a mom, we're looking at, how can we best support our children, but also supporting ourselves as we're going through this. And so I was doing a lot of studies. Nutrition was a big part of my studies. And as I went through my chiropractic career and motherhood career and all of that, I really started to look at how can I piece this together to offer this to other people, because what I didn't really just refer to chiropractic, right? And that's why on my social media, I'm Dr. Mom, because a lot of people would contact me saying, well, what do I do for this? And what do I do for this? And all of these questions would come at me all the time. And so, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But I wanted to kind of see, how can I encompass this all into one thing? And I was looking for different modality. Do I do some biofeedback scans? Do I want to do different things? There's so many things but how could I pull this all together? And I came across the work of Dr. Bradley Nelson with the emotion code and body code. And I had come across it a little bit before, and it just hadn't sparked, it was the time quite yet. And then I went through some, a couple years had passed, and I had his book on my shelf, and I finally kind of was like, oh, now's the time. Somebody else was doing the program, another colleague of mine. And I was like, oh, that's the body code wasn't quite born yet at the time when I first got emotion code. And so the body code was the thing that I was able to put all of those modalities together so that I could muscle test and access the subconscious mind of the clients that I was working with and see what is it for them that will make the greatest impact. So that's kind of the beginnings of it. And so I got certified about 5 years ago now. Actually, it's gone by so fast. So it's kind of always developing. And as I develop the different techniques that I do, I encompass it into the body code, formula that I use.
Yeah. Now, I know that you also have a huge expertise with essential oils and with a lot of different things. Is that all things that are incorporated in body code kind of as for anyone who becomes certified, or was that more just something you incorporated because you had an expertise?
So actually the basics of these things are incorporated in body code. So if you are doing emotion code where you're just dealing with the emotions chart, and that is really simple. But if somebody wants to dive deeper into the body code, and there are books for each of these that people can do, and then there's the certifications if you want to be a practitioner and really, really dive deep. But in the body code system, we're working with 6 different systems. And so in that, we go through the different energies. We work with circuits and systems within the body. We work with toxins, pathogens, misalignments within the body as well, or even energetic pathways, meridians, that sort of thing. And then there is a nutrition lifestyle section where you're going to go through different nutritional things that somebody might need, as well as essential oils if it comes up. So that is actually built in to the body code system.
Okay.
So anybody would do that. I just take it an extra level deeper because of my expertise, that I bring to the table with it.
Yeah. And I can just say, because I have experienced your work, and it's really, truly phenomenal. And now I did read the emotion code. Actually, I own the body code. However, that one to me looks more like a textbook. And so I've been a little I'm not quite ready to get into that one yet. But I did read the emotion code, and it was a quick, easy read. And I do have fun, clearing emotions with myself. And to work with you it's like T-ball compared to like pro baseball, like at, or
Right.
Olympic, whatever. I don't know that baseball's even in the Olympics, but it's it's like preschool figure skating to Olympic gold medalist figure skating. It's kind of like feels like that difference to me.
Yeah, well, the beauty of this work is that anybody can do it, right?
Mhm.
You could just get that emotion code book or even the heart wall book. No, sorry, it's called Heart Code. I actually have it right here for those who are watching on video. The Heart Code book as well. So both of those books are really good for just kind of that beginner standpoint so that you can clear all of those emotions that just kind of come in if you're feeling stuck. And body code is a lot more involved because you're working with all the different systems. You're working with those 6 different categories. So
Yeah.
as much as you can do it, it is more of a, you'd want to understand the app and the system. It is definitely more involved. And so that's why I tell everybody, do emotion code for yourself, do the heart code on yourself and your loved ones. And then when you have, maybe something that, there's extra layers to, that's when you find a practitioner and then we can, take it to the next level.
Yeah. Now, while we're talking heart code, there is, and it's mentioned in the emotion code, but I haven't read the heart code, so I don't know. But is that about the heart wall?
Yes. So that one's specific.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the heart wall specifically is really important because it's that energetic barrier between that we create into the world, right? Our hearts are naturally created to just hold joy and positive emotions and really to connect with ourselves as well as with others. And so we want to move through life moving from our hearts. It has its own magnetic energy. And so when we go through traumas in life or we go through just really overwhelming experiences or stressful experiences, we start to put up what we call walls around the heart. And that is temporarily to protect us, right? Because we don't want to feel that pain that we've just gone through again and again and again. So we're like, well, if I put this wall up, well, then that person can't hurt me anymore. Right? But then over time, as we're creating all these walls, kind of say like, it becomes like the Great Wall of China, right? Well, it's this barrier to our connection and to our relationships and and even ourselves. And so we need to start breaking down that wall and taking down those walls so that we can then truly feel that emotional openness that we naturally would have otherwise. And then it helps with our relationships, our clarity of mind, and being more present within ourselves and with others.
I love that. Now, for people who don't know, I think as adults, we are all very aware that we could easily have heart walls. And we're probably quite aware that it could be very thick and dense and has been building for a long time. If we're talking children, heart walls can exist for children too.
Absolutely, because, well, there's different types of heart walls. There's heart walls that you can actually inherit. So if I have such a strong heart wall that when my child is conceived and I pass down that DNA, right, that child could inherit that energy as well. And so there's that type of heart wall that could exist in our infants, even from the womb and beyond. And then there's the ones that just going through different experiences as little beings, when they're surrounded, if they don't understand their own energy yet, because we haven't taught them how to have boundaries. We haven't taught them how to process emotions. So when they're in a stressful environment, if we haven't processed our stuff as parents, or we're out in public and there's something stressful going on, that child can even absorb other people's energies, right? And then, or also develop their own. Usually we don't see as many, of course, when they're younger. It's kind of something that builds upon over time. yet you can still see some. And so if we can release those heart walls, that whether they be absorbed or inherited right from the get-go, then there's less likely going to be the development of more heart walls over time. Right? So it's important to also check our kiddos on that, because they might just be picking up on our stuff, right? We pick up other people's energies. So the more if somebody doesn't understand how, how to be empathetic versus sympathetic, they're going to be absorbing a lot of energies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in regards to the heart wall, when the heart wall finally is gone, for whoever it is, you've described it as being able to live and experience in a more alive kind of a way. Like, what are things people say when that, or what was maybe your experience when the heart wall?
So by
away.
removing the heart wall, what happens is you just, like, I feel more at peace within myself. I can understand my own intuitive abilities better. So if I can follow within, I can follow the messages that I get. And then also connect in my own marriage, my relationships with my children, my relationships with patients and clients, and the rest of the world. I'm not working from an area of protecting myself. I'm working of a place of just being completely open and vulnerable, and just it's so much more peaceful of a place. So I just noticed much more calm. I noticed that I don't judge myself as much. I noticed that, for myself, I can love myself easier. I can actually look in the mirror and love the person that I'm seeing, because I released all of the past pain. I'm not working from the past. I'm working from right now. And without that barrier, right? We clear those barriers and you can just be. And it's such a beautiful place. And I've seen it in a lot of, all my clients, as well as myself, my family, and anyone who's done this work. It's just a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. And for some people, it may sound scary to let go of the guard, like the barriers. And I think also, if we want the relationship with ourselves, we have to be willing to
well, the beautiful thing about this modality is that it's not going to be in the same type of realm as counseling, where we have to rehash everything. Everybody, like, I do get a lot of those questions where it's like, well, do I have to relive this? And I have to, it's going to be hard work and it's going to be emotional. And neither do they want me to know all of their stuff. They don't want to tell their stories necessarily. But the beautiful thing about this modality is it's so gentle, it's non-invasive. I don't need to know all the details. We're simply muscle testing, identifying the emotion, occasionally the age as to which it happened, and releasing it. And and so you don't even notice the difference. You don't necessarily notice oh, I feel vulnerable. All you do is you feel lighter and calmer and more peaceful. Yeah. And then as you go through life, you're like, wait, I wasn't triggered. Oh, wait, I can feel this joy with this person, which maybe you didn't feel before. So it's not it's not, people feel scared of oh, what is it going to be like if I let go of these walls? But it's not that same type of process as you might do when you're working through stuff and feeling that. And I like people to know that, because it
does have perhaps a neutrality to it, where it's this simple conversation, but you don't need the details. You don't have to relive it. You simply get to release.
Yes. Yes. It's such a much gentler process.
Yeah. Yeah. So while we're here, let's talk more about the subconscious mind. So for people who aren't familiar, I think most people have some concept of it. But within this work, there's I guess, what is the subconscious mind? And then I know from with me working with you, sometimes there'll be certain things that come up and it's like, well, that's an odd one. I
Right.
didn't know that my subconscious believed that, because it's not always congruent with like
The conscious mind.
the conscious mind. Like
Right.
there can be actually pretty vast differences,
Mhm.
or can we talk about that?
Absolutely, because that's a major part of this work, right? So the subconscious mind is actually runs 90 to 95% of all of your thoughts, all of your behaviors, all of your reactions. It's basically stored memories, belief systems, protective patterns, right? It's like all of those things that you do, as well as a lot of how your body functions, because you don't think about breathing, right? You don't think about your liver
Mm-hmm.
detoxifying. You don't think about what your gut is doing unless there's a symptom, of course, right? Then you're very much aware.
Right?
But most of the time, 90 to 95% of what's going on in your body is all controlled by the subconscious mind. And so when you put that with all of the thoughts and the behaviors, what happens is like that ends up controlling our reactions. So if you've ever felt triggered, that is something from the subconscious mind. So what I like, a good example I like to share is a little bit like if all of a sudden you were, you know, 6 years old, let's say, and your parents are telling you that, you know, maybe they're getting a divorce or there's something major that happens in your life, right? All of a sudden, if your subconscious mind remembers everything about that day, your conscious mind is just going to kind of remember certain key points, right? But your subconscious mind remembers everything. It's going to remember that, oh my gosh, there were blue walls in that room. It was a spring day. There was pollen everywhere. I was eating maybe a piece of cheese and all of these things. And so if you didn't feel safe in that moment, for whatever, you know, for whatever all the emotions that were, it was overwhelming, you didn't feel safe, all these things, the subconscious mind remembers all of those details. So later on in life, when you are presented with a piece of cheese, all of a sudden there's all of these other triggers that are coming with it. And you're like, I don't get why I'm reacting to this, right? Or you walk into a blue room and you don't feel safe, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. So you blow it off and there's all these things that can kind of go along with it. So sometimes when we are saying an affirmation, like, I am ready to receive this abundance, if there's something that in your subconscious mind that says, well, no, you're not, like, that's not safe, you know, there's no safety there, then you're at, like, it's not going to match, right? You can say
Mm-hmm.
the affirmation all day long, but because your conscious mind only runs 5 to 10%, you have to really work at overpowering the subconscious mind. So it's about bringing up all of those pieces. And that's why sometimes it doesn't match. There might be certain ones that you're like, oh yeah, I'm very well aware of this pattern. I'm very well aware of, you know, this thought process. But a lot of them are, this is just really that memory, that imprint that was put into that subconscious, and that controls all of our behaviors that come
Mm-hmm.
out. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. And then as far as, because there's other ways that sometimes the subconscious can be made conscious. And I know sometimes with coaching programs or things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but you might ferret out one subconscious belief where you're like, whoa, mind blown, did not know that I thought that. And then you all of a
Right.
sudden start paying attention. You're like, wow, I think that all the time. Who
Yeah.
knew? But then it still is this big process of every time it comes up, catching it, noticing it, and changing it in the conscious mind. And this is a very different process of simply
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to access the subconscious mind, like you mentioned, right? There's a lot of different techniques where you can access the subconscious mind and really bring that up, and really just sometimes paying attention. You're like, wait a second. And that's how in my past, I used to suffer from really bad migraines, and they started to become more and more and more. And I noticed that, when I was thinking back at it, I was like, I've been having them since I was a kid, but I can't figure out why. And that's actually how I got introduced to essential oils. There was finally an essential oil that could kind of like cut the migraine, and the pressure. And then that allowed me to start looking at, okay, what just happened? Because when I was having the migraine, I couldn't think about what just happened, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I was able to kind of start reflecting on, well, what just happened? I was able to see the pattern in my life of like, oh, every time there's something really important that means a lot to me, I get a migraine. So interesting. I was cutting myself off from the joy. So I was able to start to reprogram. And as soon as the behaviors would start, I could start to look back and say, oh, no, 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 I deserve joy. I allow myself to enjoy today and, all and what's to come. And so I was able to start really like programming it ahead of time, knowing like the day before even, or the couple of days before, I know this big event is coming. I'm not going to have a migraine. I'm going to welcome the joy. I'm going to welcome that. Right. And so you can start to notice some of those things and bring and reprogram the subconscious mind. EFT tapping is a great way to do that as well. Right. What body code does is it brings all of the pieces together. That's what it did for me. And that's how I present it, is it's bringing all the pieces, because sometimes I don't know what affirmations I need to say, or I don't know the patterns that are within. And so it helps decode what the root cause is, or what the root belief system is, so that then you can start to reprogram that.
Yeah. So, and in part of this, you have said previously that every either dis-ease, symptom, disease, no matter kind of how small or big it is, are all connected to something going on in the subconscious mind, either trapped emotion or, conflicting belief or something. Even if we're talking not necessarily just physical manifestations in your life, but even like relationship conflict, or like people will say in growing business, like as soon as I do good, then something happens, and like the car breaks down, or this or that, or
right
like people have these patterns in life, and it could be a semblance of a disease, I guess, just in a variety of areas. But like how, again, you've talked about the subconscious mind, but can you talk a little bit more about like how does that correspond to the body, or to the external, like the body is still very much self, but also external life? And
right. So so what we are going through in life is a mirror of what's going on in our subconscious. And the reason you say that is, like, if you've ever heard of the power of attraction, right? You're going to attract what the energy is that you're putting out there. Everything is frequency and energies within ourselves and out in the world. And so what happens is that chronic stress that you feel, those belief patterns are attracting these things into our life. And if you've ever read the book Big Leap, that's actually the book that helped me with my migraines and really figure out that pattern. Because mental, emotional, let me go back. We are not just physical beings, right? We are mental, emotional, spiritual beings in this physical body. And so our symptoms are messages from our subconscious so that we can pay attention. So we don't want to just mask these symptoms. We want to look at what is it. And these symptoms can be mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical symptoms, right? And so just so if we have an upper limit, we have a belief system that we don't deserve to be, very abundant. Well, we might all of a sudden have abundance in one area of our lives, but because of this faulty belief that it's not safe to be wealthy, or it's not safe to be happy in all aspects of life, we're going to sacrifice in another area. We're going to sabotage. And self-sabotage or sabotage energy is actually part of the body code as well. We can look and decode some of those things. So we might have joy and happiness in one area, and then we self-sabotage in another area. But why? We want to decode why. So if you're having migraines, if you are, and like we said, most of what's going on in your body is subconscious. So we want to decode what is going on. Why do I have this symptom? What is going on? And back pain is not just back pain. The body tells you messages. So if you're having back pain, maybe it's a support issue, right? If you're having wrist issues, maybe you're resisting something. We can look at the words sometimes and kind of look at what energy is that holding, right? Our liver is very much holding a lot of rage and anger. Gallbladder, liver, right? You have the gall to do that. Well, that's in your gallbladder, right? So gallbladder, liver can hold things like rage, anger. Your lungs might hold grief, right? There's lots of other emotions. I'm just going to, kind of touch on some, but you want to look at those patterns. What are you holding on to? And so we want to work through that for ourselves, but then we are also as we work that, we can work from present moment, and then our kids don't pick that stuff up too, right? Because our kids are then going to reflect us. Is it environmental, or did they pick it up through absorbing the energy, or maybe inherited it through their, at conception, whatever it might be. But the subconscious mind is very much holding on to the patterns, and then it manifests physically in our world. So it's very important to release that emotional burden, because then your body can then shift and heal. So if there's a disconnect, let's say between my immune system and my nervous system, we can access that different points. And in body code, we release we can energetically reconnect it by releasing anything that's blocking it, that's disconnecting it. And then that all of a sudden you have them working together, and your body can finally heal and get over it.
Yeah. And this can be preventative too.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have something going on, because we all have something in the subconscious mind that could be released. It's not,
you may not be aware of the pattern that's happening in your life. And so you may not, it might just be, we all have a symptom in some way. It might be emotional, where I don't feel like I could connect with people. I just don't feel like I have any close friends. I don't feel connected to people, right? That's a symptom.
Yeah. And that's a really important one, I think, for moms too, who are, I would argue, a chronically lonely group. Or even connecting to our children, like even for people who experience mom rage, or just feel really triggered by their children.
Yeah.
And it's hard
it took me
why.
It took me over a decade and even more. Actually, I had to go through a lot of illness before I actually learned to ask for help. How many moms out there don't know how to ask for help when they need it, right? And that is something within you that's being blocked, that's stopping you from asking for help. And when we release those things, it could just be as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a way to accelerate healing and connection and calmness, kind of regardless of what gets found within the subconscious mind. So I think that's a beautiful thing, because I mean, we all want to do things. Why do it more hard and challenging and time consuming and like with grit and effort if it can just be easy?
Right. So. That's what I love about this work too, is that it's easy. It's non-invasive. It's so gentle. We don't need to relive and rehash all the details out, because the subconscious just identifies it and takes it all in a lump sum and says, okay, goodbye. And it's just that easy.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone wants to become a practitioner or connect with a practitioner, whether it be you or someone else, kind of what is that process? Do you have to be a healthcare provider to get certified?
No, anybody could actually do this. Anybody who just wants to learn the technique for themselves can do the certification or buy the book. I highly recommend anybody and everyone to buy the Emotion Code book and really learn how to muscle test for yourself, and and how to start the clearing. And if it inspires you and you want to do the work with other people, or you want to learn more about the body code, belief code, then you can keep going deeper. So anybody, if you connect with me, I can send you a referral link to get certified. But you can also just go to Discover Healing, which is Dr. Bradley Nelson's website, discoverhealing.com. And you can look at the information and get certified right there. Anybody can do it. You do need to be certified, of course, to charge for it and to be a licensed practitioner. Yeah. But anybody can do it, at least for themselves, through either the program or the book.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of within their own home.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a beautiful thing. And I highly do recommend everybody do at least the Emotion Code, and then seek out a practitioner for extra work.
Yeah. And if people want to work with you, which I highly recommend because you are extraordinary in all the best ways, how do people do that?
So to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Dr. Mom Rossi. Or you can go to our website. It's through our chiropractic office. So it's rossichiropracticcenter.com. And there is a wellness decoding your health section. There'll be links in there to get to our scheduling app or to contact us. You can contact me on any of the platforms, of course, and send me a message, and then we can set up an appointment directly, or you can, of course, do it online on our scheduling app through our website as well.
Amazing. And so if we're talking kind of raising confident mothers, and kind of having mothers who like rise up, like out of overwhelm and not enoughness, and that's not proper grammar, but that's okay. But just this insecurity that I think plagues a lot of new moms. How does this correlate? How does self-healing relate to all of this? Like, from your perspective, how do the new moms, with small children who are just feeling like overwhelmed and just feeling like, my goodness, like, how am I failing so epically when I'm trying so hard? How do we get out of that? How do we shift that?
Yeah, that's something that we all go through, right? All moms have their own version of this. And so it's getting to a place, releasing those things that maybe you picked up, right? Patterns from your parents or something generational that's been going on in your family. And we want to break those generational patterns, right? We want to release that so we don't pass them on to our kids. And as we're doing the work, we are connecting more with ourselves. We're finding more peace. We're not judging ourselves. We're not blaming ourselves. So you're healing your own patterns, breaking all of those cycles. And then what happens is not only do you feel better about it, but you're not acting out of the triggers and of the past, because what's happening is, if my mom was such an amazing mom, or maybe I don't want to be like her at all, and I see a trait in me that looks like that, all of a sudden I get a trigger, and then it actually amps up the energy, and it stresses us out even more, right? Or if I'm like, I can't be as perfect as my mom. She was amazing and I can't keep up. Or the mom next door, the comparison, like, right?
Mhm.
And so we see that. And if we can release all of that energy, like, where is that coming from? Where is that coming from? Did somebody tell you you had to be that way? Or is it coming from within because you just love your kids so much? But why are you putting that extra pressure on? So we have to decode that root cause, release that, so that then we can be working from present. Because if I am in a situation with my kids and my toddler is screaming, right? And I'm tired and all kinds of things are going on. And there's two scenarios. I can be present with my child in the moment, being like, oh my gosh, you're having some really big feelings. How, like, either letting them work it through, because emotions are important. We want them to have emotions. We just want them to learn how to navigate them, right? So then if we're present in the moment, we're not taking it on. We're not like, oh my God, what is that? But we can be present with the kid and like help them through it, or just give them the moment that they need to scream and shout without taking it personally, without it making it look like we're a bad mom because they're having emotions, right? And allow them through it. Or we can get stressed out because of all of these beliefs and all of these trapped feelings and all of these I should be or I am not, or all of this stuff that we feel. And then that is like, I now need to control this child and this behavior is not okay. And, finding that balance is going to be because we can connect with ourselves and really see what's going on right here and right now. And our children are going to pick up and regulate through our nervous system. I mean, until the child is 7 years old, they don't really even have their own etheric field, right? And if you've ever studied Steiner's work, Rudolf Steiner's work, in that, he will talk about that 7-year change. A child is like, still has a connection like an umbilical cord to their mom, and they depend on, like, they don't realize they're an individual till around 7 years old, until they go through that change. So our child is going to regulate its own nervous system and its emotions through us. So the more we can release all of our patterns, all of our triggers, right, then we're more present with them, and then they can regulate better too.
And I think it also opens up our ability to connect to our own intuition and actually parent from an intuitive place and heal ourselves from an intuitive place.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a should, and this person thinks, and this person says this, and it's nice to be able to separate.
Yes, it's very, very freeing. It's very freeing. And I can speak from that, my own experience of, like, trying to have a, perfectly clean house and having all the kids, behave a certain way. And you know what? Life happens, and we all have our own journeys to go through, and it all helps us grow. And when I started doing this work on myself, all of a sudden I had people coming over, and I noticed, wait a second, I haven't been yelling at my family to get this house in order and participate and help. And I'm not stressed about what is my bathroom look like and what does my house look like. It just was what it was. And I was just enjoying the moments. And I realized, wow, I didn't even work on that aspect of myself directly. It was built into the other belief systems and other patterns that I had within myself that I had cleared. So it's really wonderful. It's just being present. That's what we want to be. That's our goal, is just to be present with our kids and have that ultimate connection. So when we remove those heart walls, it makes a big shift in who we are and how we show up each and every day.
Yeah, I love that so much. And the work is amazing. I definitely encourage everyone to reach out to Brigitte and have a session, because it's a wonderful experience. And you can get a lot done. It leaves you feeling very accomplished. You're like, wow, look what I all did in like 40 minutes or 30 minutes or
right.
whatever it is. It's like, wow, okay, good for me.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time today, Brigitte. Thank you for sharing all
You're
of this
welcome. Thank you for
information.
having me.
And I'm really grateful that you were here. And thank you to our lovely listeners. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on this journey with us. And I will be sure to include all of Dr. Brigitte's information in the show notes so you can connect with her that way. And we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening. If you are loving this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and leave us a review. Both of these really help the show. As you go out into the world this week, know that we are sending you so much love and wishing you a wonderful and beautiful day. And we will see you back here soon.